Hey, everybody. It's the Fat Man in Vegas, Grouchy Surge, and it's time for another Backlog Confessional, where I'm going to talk to you about the games I'm not playing instead of playing the games that I'm not talking about. So, first up, let me leech off of the Capri and do what he thinks everybody should do to start, and that is talk about 3 things that I am grateful or thankful for. The first one, I am thankful for my conversations with James Johnson, Jams Gams, moderated by Sean Capri on the Pants podcast. Now, this is just something that kind of started as a joke, but the joke keeps going and going and going, and I'm really enjoying the back and forth, and I'm enjoying the fact that Sean is letting it go through. So for anybody who's not over at the You, Me, and Capri Patreon, you're really missing out, because that Pants podcast is it's something special, it's something fun, and over the course of time, it's morphing into something a little bit more existential. The second thing that I'm thankful for is game delays. Now, I honestly feel that we get too many great games nowadays, and it's impossible to keep up. I'm happy things get put off. Not everything. I mean, I'm a little annoyed that Final Fantasy VII got pushed back, but that gives me more time to get the money into my bank account. But all these other ones, it's cool. Push them back. Let's delay all of 2020 and push it back to 2021. Because I still got games on my list that I'm going to play this year from like 2017. And there's a million others. There's games from like the early 2000s that I haven't played yet. So I got a lot of catching up to do. So you developers out there, keep pushing them back, and there's a better chance that I'll play your game when it comes out. And third, I am thankful for peanut butter. Peanut butter is one of those ingredients that I don't think you can go wrong with peanut butter. I think peanut butter is almost a perfect ingredient, a perfect condiment, a perfect complement to most anything you want to do. I mean, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, anybody. You can put peanut butter on a sandwich all by itself and eat it. It's delicious. Peanut butter and jelly. Peanut butter and honey. A peanut butter and honey sandwich might be better than peanut butter and jelly. You can heat it up. You put peanut butter on a toast, and it gets all nice and melty and runny, and it just runs down your throat. Peanut butter on waffles. My wife will melt peanut butter and mix it in with her pancake batter and make us peanut butter pancakes, and those things are so delicious. But let's not stop there. Has anybody put peanut butter on their hamburgers before? I'm telling you, that's a lot better than anybody thinks it will be. It's just, peanut butter goes a little... I'm pretty sure at this point, I could eat peanut butter and pickles. Now, I say that. So, I'm curious what everybody thinks. I put a little question out there on Twitter, and I'm thinking about doing a video podcast. Like, not a total podcast or anything, but like a video series where they only occasionally drop. But every once in a while, either I come up with something using, let's just say, ingredients that don't normally go together, or maybe somebody suggests something, and I will do this. I'll do a video where I make some food, I talk to you guys, I share some stories, and then in the end, I try this delicious concoction, and I tell you yeah, we cannot talk no more. And then I talk to you guys about what I thought about it, whether it was delicious, whether it was disgusting, whether maybe there was like an ingredient that was wrong, but I could make it better by changing something up. So, it's an interesting idea. I don't know what I would call it, and be like, crap that I put in my mouth, things that I shouldn't be eating, whatever. But if you guys like the idea of me making a video series of eating weird ingredients, let me know. I might be able to make it a reality. So this gets me to where I wanted to go, which was another Twitter poll I put out there, and maybe not even a poll, maybe it was just like I love RPGs, but I don't have time for them. So I put out like a schedule. Like, these are the RPGs that I'm going to play for the rest of the year. And I put some thought into it, and I wrote them down, and I was like, bam, quarter one, January, February, March, I'm going to finish Fire Emblem. Then quarter two, I'm going to go into Mario vs. Rabbids, or Mario Cross Rabbids, or Mario X button square push Rabbids. Quarter three, Persona 5R. Quarter four, Dragon Quest 11. But then Twitter happened, and people were like, "Whoa, but you forgot all these games." And then like 75 other people were like, "You forgot this, you forgot this, you forgot this." And the next thing you know, my list died. It went down in flames. It died a horrible, horrible, painful death. And then it was reborn from the ashes, like a phoenix rising. You know what I'm saying? So, people were suggesting all kinds of games. Trials of Mana, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered. So, I took this list, and then I broke it down a little bit. So, 1, Fire Emblem's not going away because I'm over halfway through Fire Emblem, and I'm going to beat it. Dragon Quest looks like it's getting removed because I don't own it yet. I will buy it when I can get it on the Switch for $19.99 or lower, but why throw a game on here that I haven't bought and I haven't pre-ordered? So I can't even guarantee I'm going to own it by the end of the year. What do I own? I own Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I own Octopath Traveler, which was suggested by multiple people. Dragon Age Origins. I own it. However, I have beat it. Ni no Kuni, Tuni, Suni, Wooni, Wooni, Wooni. I own it on PS4. Want to pick it up on Switch, but I have it. Games that I have pre-ordered that weren't on my original list, but other people brought up. Final Fantasy VII Remaster. Divinity Original Sin 2. Pre-ordered it from Limited Run Games. More games that I don't own. I don't own Dragon's Dogma. Not going to get it. Xenoblade Chronicles Remastered. To be honest, if I play Chronicles 2, which I have, and I don't like it, I'm not going to pick up Remastered. But if I really, really, really like Chronicles, then maybe eventually I'll pick up Remastered. I also don't own Trials of Mana. And the most important game that I don't own, but it's part of this weird conspiracy to get me to play things, Mathman 1024. One of the new members of the Backlog Busters. He has a super secret RPG that he wants me to play. This super secret RPG starts with a C. This super secret RPG is something that is probably one of his favorite games of all time. And I'm going to tell you what, I do not own this game. I know what this super secret RPG is. It was an accident that I mentally discovered what he was talking about, because at first he was like, "I've got this idea, and I'm going to get you to play it. I already know what your C game is going to be." And I'm like, "How you going to do that? Because we haven't even come to that yet." And he's like, "I got a plan." But then there was something else that was posted like a day or two later, and he responded to it, and my brain clicked, and I was like, "Bam! I know what you're talking about." So I'm not going to give it away, because there might be some people out there that are like, "Huh? What could he be talking about? Is it Paper Mario Color Splash?" So yeah, I had to go through all of these games, and then I had to reformulate a list. So here is kind of what I came up with as a rough idea. Now, I got less than 20 hours left of Fire Emblem, so Fire Emblem staying in quarter one. However, I could possibly have it beat by the first, maybe second week of February. So another short game, I'm keeping Mario Cross Rabbids on there, and I'm moving it to quarter one. So I was told it's about a 20-hour game, which means that I have time to beat Fire Emblem and Mario Cross Rabbids before April shows up. So quarter two, this is where it gets interesting, because in quarter two, a game that is near and dear to my heart, a game that I promised I would play when it came out, instead of buying it and then leaving it on my backward for an undetermined amount of time. Months, days, years, decades, whatever. Final Fantasy VII Remaster. I don't even know how I didn't think about this game, but I have to play Final Fantasy VII Remaster, and since it doesn't fit into the Backlog Challenge, it has to fit somewhere. So it's fitting. Quarter two. Quarter three. Divinity Original Sin 2. Pre-ordered it from Limited Run Games. Everybody talks about how amazing this game is, how good the combat is, how the side missions, side stories, side catalogs, side logs, whatever you want to call it, the stuff that you don't do in the main, you do it on the side. Like if I was making steak and potatoes, this would be the macaroni or the broccoli. You know what I'm saying? People say that those missions are amazing as well. So, since I pre-ordered it from Limited Run Games, bam, that's my quarter 3 game. And then quarter 4, Persona 5. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but I know I have Persona 5 and did not play it. I picked it up with a steelbook. I am fairly certain that if I look at my Amazon purchase history, when Persona 5R was available to be pre-ordered with a steelbook, I probably pre-ordered that as well. So I will either be playing Persona 5 or Persona 5R, or depending, my life could be in complete chaos and I could just not have any TV time. Trying to play Final Fantasy VII, trying to play other games that are on, well, maybe not on yet, but will be on my backlog challenge. Maybe by the end of the year, I'm just going to be like, I don't have time to play on a TV, and I could change it to Persona 4 Golden, which I put about 15 to 20 hours in at one point and loved it, but I never beat it. So I could just go back to that. So, Fire Emblem and Mario Cross Rabbids, already own them. Final Fantasy VII, Divinity, and Persona, all coming out this year, all being purchased. They've already been pre-ordered, which means maybe I should start playing the games that I'm buying now instead of putting them off for the games that I already own, because I can't talk myself out of not buying these games. I already pre-ordered them. I've already made the mental and financial commitment to get them. Then I did. I asked for some questions. I did. I got a couple of questions before I decided to talk about this whole RPG thing. Role-playing games, you know what I'm saying? And this one ties into what I was just talking about, and that was from Ryan Craig. He said, discuss the temptations of adding games on sale to an already overwhelming backlog. So, to me, this comes down to, another form of FOMO, that fear of missing out. While I'm not adding a ton of new games, even though it sounds like I am based on the discussion I just had, while I'm not adding a ton of new games, picking up games on sale, it's like you see that $60 game on sale for $9.99, and you're like, and am I going to find another deal like this? Let's go through that last Nintendo sale, not the one that's going on now, but the one that ended last year and started this year. There were so many really good games on there at really, really great bargain basement prices. And it's I know I'm not going to get to some of these, but I don't know if I'm going, by the time I'm ready to play them, am I going to find a price like this? So, sales affect your brain. It's the same way that achievements and trophies affect your brain. It's the same way as these loot boxes affect your brain. You just see them and you're compelled and you're afraid that you're going to lose out. I'm afraid that instead of spending $9.99 on Lego City Undercover because it was on sale, whenever I do get a chance to play it, I'm going to spend $14.99 and it's going to be $5 more. Even though that's not the rational side of my brain, because the rational side of my brain could say that $9.99 is more important now to either put into a piggy bank or into a savings account or put towards a bill or just dangle it in front of somebody's face and be like, look what I got that you don't got. What if I never get to Lego City Undercover? Then technically I wasted $9.99 that I wouldn't have normally because I was afraid that maybe I'd have to buy it for $14.99 later. It makes no sense at all, but it's instant gratification. I saved money. I did a good thing. I spent less than I would have under other circumstances. I hope that kind of answers the question, but that's how I feel about it. Backlog Odyssey. First question, how structurally sound are steelbooks? Now, I haven't done a whole lot of testing on these. I buy them because they're beautiful. I don't care about their structural sound and nature or anything like that. What I care about is how beautiful they're going to look sitting on my shelf and how I get to tell other people and take pictures and share it on Twitter, even though nobody's going to come into my house and look at my steelbooks. I do have a couple that are either damaged or broken, and they all showed up that way. For instance, the last God of War that came out with the really big statue and all that really cool Kratos stuff, That showed up broken, and I did not get a chance to replace it because Amazon told me I needed to send everything back. And I really wasn't willing to do that at the time. I wasn't willing to send it back and hope to get a replacement or hope that the next one wasn't broken. So instead, I have a broken steelbook on my shelf that kind of makes me cry because, you know, it loses that value. I'm not going to sell it, but I know it's not worth as much. Even though to me, it's all the beauty of collecting steelbooks. And I'm trying to make my video games like my movie collection, where I only pick up really cool editions that have a steelbook, so that on my shelf I have something cool to show instead of just normal looking cases. His next question was, what would win in a fish fight? A chalupa versus a quesarito? Now, the answer is chalupa. Chalupas are beautiful, delicious, taco-like entities where you put the things in them and you bite into them and there's juices running down your chin and you're just in you're in chalupa ecstasy. A quesarito is a burrito with a little bit of cheese and some rice and some random meat. So there's nothing special about it. It's just a name. Whereas the chalupa has a special shell. It is ingredients that you don't get in regular tacos. How could anybody question? The chalupa is Conor McGregor. The quesarito is Cowboy Bob Orton or whatever his name is. It's a first round knockout and it's not even close. Hungry Pup. When do you cut bait with a game you haven't beaten? Where does give it a chance meet I'm not having enough fun? Now, Hungry Pup, if you remember from last year, he sent us in a 600-hour Octopath Traveler review. And I loved it, and everybody who listened to it and actually gave me feedback said they liked it. Trash Turkey, he was like, yeah, I like it. So I said it on Twitter. I'm going to say it here again. Hungry Pup loves the RPGs. Hungry Pup plays the games that I wish I still had time to play. So, Hungry. Man, I wish your name was Hungry Hippo. That would have just worked so much better for me. I could have been all into it. I could have bought the game. We could have played it. I'd invite you to Vegas. You could come out to my house. We'd have some beers. I'd barbecue something on the grill. We could do hamburgers or ribs or chicken wings. And then we'd sit around on my table outside with a beer and a wing, hitting on a Hungry Hippo game. And we'd record it and put it on Twitter and just blow everybody's minds. But no, your name is Hungry Pup and there's nothing I can do with that. But I would like for you to, do you have any other games you've beaten recently that you feel strongly about? Send us, even if it's a small, 5-minute review, 10-minute review. Doesn't have to be a 600-hour opus that, spans all of space and time. We would like you to submit more stuff if you're comfortable with it. But when do you cut bait? So, as I'm getting older, as the Backlog Busters are moving forward in time, and now we were in year 3. Year 1, my whole goal was beat a game. It's that was the goal. Turkey and I, we got together every month. We get a game, we beat it, we talk about it, move on. As time went on, I was less secure in the whole, there were a couple of games that I beat that the only reason I beat them was for the satisfaction of the pod. I didn't necessarily feel overjoyed with the game by the time I got done with it, and there were multiple points where I would have cut out and moved on to something else, but I didn't. And at the time, I was like, yeah, I'm happy I pushed through, I'm happy I beat this game and gave it a chance and blah, blah, blah. But to be honest, now that I look back upon it, like I said, this is, we're entering year number 3 of this podcast, and I have played a lot more games than I have, prior to the podcast, and I've beaten a lot more games than I did prior as well. But there's several games that I look at and I'm like, you know what? I really wish I would have just quit this game when I decided that I really wasn't having fun with it. And the only reason I was continuing is because I wanted to, get the full experience so that we could talk about it. I think that time frame is different for everybody. And it's not something that I can tell you, well, this is what you need to look for. Like, for instance, you, Mr. Puppy. you play RPGs. So a lot of RPGs, you have to give more time. You know, the old saying, well, it doesn't get good until hour number 20. But you know what? Is it worth your time to get to hour number 20 so that, you know, hour 21 through 100 are going to be exceptional? For me, you know, I'm playing like 8 to 15 hour experiences. So if I'm like 2 hours into a game and I'm just not into it, I'm willing to, you know, play something else for a while. Even if it's only temporarily, like I put it down and I start playing something else, because then my mind is going to drive me to whether or not that game's worth going back to, whether I'm still willing to give it a chance or I just didn't have enough fun. Because the question pops up, do you ever just sit down and you're like, man, I want to go back and give that another try? Or do you just push it out of your mind and move on because it really isn't worth it anymore and you've mentally moved on because you weren't having the fun with it? So I honestly, that's up to every individual, but what I say is just tell yourself you're putting it on pause, move to something else. If you move it out of your mind and never go back, well, then that was what was right for you. But if you think about it and you're like, hey, you know what? I want to give this game another shot. Maybe it just wasn't right at the moment. Maybe you needed to be in a different spot in your life or a different frame of mind, or maybe you needed to come off of a different experience to make that game worthwhile. You know, that's something that people don't take into consideration, is sometimes you can't jump from like maybe one genre to another, or, you know, stick with the same game, the same type of game over and over. Maybe you need a palate cleanser in there. You know, maybe you need a little bit of macaroni with some barbecue sauce and jalapenos. Maybe you need peanut butter and pickles. That's the theory. Peanut butter and pickles. You know, that's your palate cleanser. If you don't like a game, pause. Go get some creamy peanut butter and smear it over some pickle slices. Take a few bites. Do you want to go back to the game, or do you want to keep eating peanut butter and pickles? I think you want to keep eating the peanut butter and pickles. Last question. Paula Granell. I guess she would be the wife of an A-Team member. She wants to know, how did I choose each member of the new Backlog Busters? What made me say, hey, he'd be a good choice? So here's the thing. Once Turkey basically told me he needed to step away, I started formulating all these ideas and thoughts within my head. And it was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I am going to try to accomplish it. And like every time I kept stumbling and I kept running into it. So what ended up happening was I took an extended pause, and there were a couple of months where nothing came out, which, by the way, I'm grateful that you guys are still listening, even though we were on this hiatus. But once I started to get the desire and that urge back, you know, I put the thing out there like, hey, you know what? The Backlog Busters need you. And I started reaching out to some people. So how did I choose? Let me go through the people. So for the Math Man, I mean, this is somebody who I have had multiple conversations with, whether on Twitter, whether private messaging through Twitter, or whether through text messages. You know, I feel that we've gotten to know each other a little bit well. He fits the turkey mold of the Backlog Busters, which is a very family-friendly, family-oriented mold. There have been times where I've reached out to him and he's like, yeah, you know, that's rated M and that's something we don't do in my house. So when the turkey is away, the Math Man will play. And I really like the diversity that he brings. He plays games that I don't play, but he's willing to experiment on things that I wasn't as well. And, you know, he's hooked me up with a couple of those. And it's just very comforting, very comfortable level there. And I thought, you know, he would be good on the podcast. So when he agreed to do it, bam, happy. We're going to go to a guy named Mike Granola. Now, everybody knows him as Blaze Knight, and he was, I believe, last year new to the scene. He came on listening. I believe he's a major Xbox player. I hear he has a foot fungus, but don't spread that rumor. He's very shy about it, and it infuriates him. Also, big fan of peanut butter and pickles. Nobody knows that until just right now. He doesn't even know it, but he's going to try them because that's the way the universe works. But I enjoyed my interactions with him. I enjoy the positivity, the upbeat nature of him. When he came to the, this indie podcasting group, he found a bunch of people he supported. He looked for new podcasts to follow. And he's always positive. I don't see anything negative coming out of the Twitter account. It's always like, that was a great episode, blah, 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 blah. People ask questions. He responds to those questions. He asks questions for the podcast. It was just, he had great participation. He had a great aura about him. And it was like, this is somebody who also hasn't had his voice out there. And the Backlog Busters are all about, new, experimental. That's how Jeremy and I started. We didn't have our voices out there. Yeah, he did a We Play Indie, and I did like a We the Gamercast or something. But we were two new people coming together, and I feel like that helped us gel, and then that helped form the little bit of a community that we have. So, he listened to our stuff, he asked questions, he responded, and it just seemed like a natural fit. Like, hey, if this guy's willing, let's break him in, because this is all about having fun, and I'm looking for personalities that I can have fun with. Plus, like I said, he leans towards the Xbox side, which really brings the podcast kind of like a side of the equation that we don't have. Jeremy and I were pretty much mostly Nintendo, and I did some Sony in there. The Math Man ventures out a little bit more, and I believe plays some games on his PC. And then we have this guy, and he's playing this other system that doesn't sell a whole lot, but has like a Game Pass thing. I don't know. It's a new perspective. It's a great attitude. It's a great personality, and it's more positive vibes. And then we come to the Backlog Odyssey. Who has been on the Backlog Busters before? Who has a voice of an angel? Now, maybe he needs some auto-tune every once in a while. Maybe he should edit something else into his voice. But he's just got this voice that nobody else out there does. He has a great sense of humor. He has a huge backlog. He plays all the systems, all the games. He has his own website. He had his own podcast that he was putting out there. He has written reviews. His wife helps. And he's always been like, hey, yeah, I'll help with the podcast. What do you need me to do? You want a picture? Do you want me to come on the podcast? Not only has he made multiple appearances on the podcast, but he submitted his dark creepy review. I don't know why I don't know anything right now. Maybe I'm just too tired. Maybe I've rambled for too long. This is going to be the longest Backlog confessional ever. I feel like I need to go wash myself of my sins after this. But he submitted that Darkest Dungeon review with the creepy music and the creepy voice. And it's like he's always been like, there's never been a time where I'm talking to him and he's like, no. He's always like, yeah, what can I do to help? Yeah, that would be great. No, I'd love to come on the show. And, he's just another one out there. Him and his wife, they're both so positive. They're both so outspoken. And they both believe in community engagement, community involvement, and, building and growing the community. And I'm going to take a drink now. Listen to the music for a few seconds. So when I was looking for people to add to the podcast, it was people that sheared, like I just cut my hair, or cared a sheep, a shoopy. All the words are leaving me now. I gotta quit soon. People who shared the vision that Trash Turkey and I started with, which is a positive attitude, play games for fun, don't put pressure on yourself, and help build community. And I really think that the group that we have right now, myself, Trash Turkey, Blaze Knight, 0923, Mathman 1024, and the Backlog Odyssey, I believe everybody shares the same beliefs, the same desires, and the same end game. We all just want to have fun, goof off, and build a community where, I don't know how this sounds, but like where I'm appreciated. Like it's fun to be part of the conversation. And since most of us, other than like, Blaze and Odyssey, will play out newer games, but most of us are playing like older games, and we're playing like obscure games, and it's nice to have a back and forth there. Whereas, it's like, I didn't play Resident Evil 2 or the Devil May Cry or the God of War or any of those huge games that came out when they came out. When you're not part of that conversation, it's harder to fit in. So this is kind of like a small segmented community where everybody fits in because everybody can play whatever they want, and we're finding people out there that have like the same voice as we do. And it's really great. And then, we have some of these, let's just say more grandiose people who are still willing to help us out because they're enjoying what we're doing. Luke Lore, Sean Capri, the Mega Dads, Shell Shock Prime, and a host of others who have all been like, yeah, we would love to do something to, for, or with the Backlog Busters. So that's it in a nutshell. Hope I answered your questions. Anyway, I gotta go. This has hit the 30-minute mark, which is really rare for me. It's usually 10 to 15 at the most, sometimes 5 or 6. So, this is the Fat Man in Vegas. This has been a Backlog Confessional. I hope it's in your ear holes. If it's not, then how did you listen to it? And remember, if you want me to do a limited video series sporadically on eating random things that maybe people don't think go together, let me know, because I want to do it, but I don't want to put it out there and only have 4 views, because then what's the use of recording it? I want like 15 views, and I want 14 of those people to be like, what the heck is your problem, dude? Anyway, peace out and trapper on, dudes.